What if the war that defined a generation, the one that killed millions, scarred continents, and reshaped entire governments was started because of something that never actually happened? Not a mistake, not bad intelligence, a deliberate lie. History books talk about the battles, the casualties, the treaties, but they rarely talk about the moment before all of that when someone in power decided to manufacture a reason to fight. This video is about those moments, 6 of them, each one documented and deliberately engineered, and each one proof of the same pattern: control the event, control the response. Let's start with the one most people think they know, but almost nobody knows the full story. On August 2nd and 4th, 1964, North Vietnamese torpedo boats attacked 2 U.S. destroyers, the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy, in international waters. The attack was unprovoked. America had no choice but to respond. Within 48 hours, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, giving President Lyndon B. Johnson virtually unlimited authority to escalate military operations in Vietnam. No formal declaration of war, just a resolution built on what the public believed was a clear act of aggression. The first incident on August 2nd, it happened, though the Maddox had been supporting South Vietnamese raids in the area, which wasn't disclosed to the public. The second attack on August 4th, the one that pushed Congress over the edge, it almost certainly never occurred. Declassified NSA documents released in 2005 confirmed what insiders had suspected for decades. Signals intelligence had been misread, radar images were misinterpreted, and nervous sailors on edge fired at their own wake. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara later admitted he was not certain the second attack happened. Johnson himself reportedly said to an aide, "Hell, those dumb, stupid sailors were just shooting at flying fish." 58,000 American soldiers dead. Over 2 million Vietnamese civilians killed. A war that lasted 11 years and tore American society apart, built on an incident that, in its most critical moment, likely did not happen. On the night of August 31st, 1939, Polish forces attacked a German radio station at Gliwice near the Polish-German border. Germany had been provoked. Hitler had no choice but to defend the nation. The next morning, German tanks crossed into Poland. World War II had begun. The Polish attack was staged entirely by the SS under the direct command of Reinhard Heydrich. German operatives dressed in Polish uniforms seized the radio station, broadcast a short anti-German message in Polish, and left behind the body of a concentration camp prisoner dressed in a Polish uniform as fabricated evidence. This was Operation Himmler, a series of false flag operations designed to make Germany appear the victim of Polish aggression. At the Nuremberg trials, SS officer Alfred Naujoks confessed to personally leading the Gliwice raid, the deadliest conflict in human history. Over 70 million people dead. The Holocaust, the complete restructuring of the global order, all legitimized in its opening moment by a staged attack on a radio station in a border town most people had never heard of. A series of bombings hit Western and American-linked targets in Egypt in the summer of 1954. Post offices, cinemas, libraries. The Egyptian government, led by Gamal Abdel Nasser, was framed as either complicit or incapable of maintaining order. The bombings were carried out by Israeli intelligence operatives, a covert network of Egyptian Jews recruited and activated by Israeli military intelligence. The objective was to sabotage Egyptian relations with Britain and the United States, preventing a British military withdrawal from Egypt that Israeli leadership feared would destabilize the region. The operation failed when one of the agents was caught. The scandal, named after Israeli Defense Minister Pinhas Lavon, consumed Israeli politics for years. Israel officially acknowledged the operation in 2005. Awarding certificates of appreciation to the surviving operatives. Political crisis inside Israel. Damaged relations with Egypt at a critical moment in regional history. A preview of how perception operations targeting third-party nations could be used to redirect geopolitical alignments. A playbook that would be refined and repeated. Throughout the Cold War, Western Europe was rocked by terrorist attacks, bombings, assassinations, kidnappings. Left-wing extremists were blamed. Communism was the threat. More security, more state power was the answer. In 1990, Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti confirmed the existence of Gladio, a secret NATO-linked network of stay-behind operatives established after World War II. Originally designed to resist a Soviet invasion, the network had, according to extensive parliamentary investigations, carried out or facilitated attacks on civilian populations, to be blamed on communist groups. The strategy had a name inside the network: the strategy of tension. Keep the population afraid. Keep them looking to the state for protection. Keep left-wing political movements politically unelectable. The 1980 Bologna train station bombing, 85 people killed, has been extensively linked to far-right operatives with Gladio connections. Italian courts have repeatedly revisited the case. Decades of political manipulation across multiple European democracies, the suppression of electoral movements through fear, a documented example of a Western intelligence apparatus turning manufactured terror inward against its own civilian population. In September 1999, a wave of apartment bombings across Russia killed nearly 300 civilians. The Kremlin blamed Chechen terrorists. Vladimir Putin, then prime minister, launched a full-scale military invasion of Chechnya. His approval ratings surged. He won the presidency months later. On September 22, 1999, residents in the city of Ryazan found sacks in the basement of their apartment building. Police were called. Explosive technicians confirmed the presence of hexagen, military-grade explosives, the same compound used in the confirmed bombings. 2 days later, FSB Director Nikolai Patrushev announced on national television that the sacks were sugar and that the entire incident had been an FSB training exercise. The local police chief publicly contradicted him. The bomb technicians stood by their findings. Several journalists and politicians who investigated the incident, including FSB Director Alexander Litvenko, died under suspicious or confirmed violent circumstances in the years that followed. A second Chechen war, the political consolidation of Vladimir Putin, and one of the most chilling unresolved questions of the post-Soviet era. Did the FSB bomb its own citizens to justify a war? Algeria's brutal civil war, which killed an estimated 100,000 to 200,000 people throughout the 1990s, was a conflict between the military government and Islamic extremist groups, primarily the GIA. The massacres of entire villages were attributed to the insurgents. Former Algerian army officer Habib Souaïd Daya, in his 2001 book and subsequent testimony before French courts, alleged that elements of the Algerian military and intelligence services, the DRS, infiltrated and in some cases directly carried out atrocities attributed to the GIA. His account was corroborated by other defectors. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch documented credible evidence that state security forces were responsible for disappearances and killings presented publicly as Islamist violence. The fog of war was not incidental. It was, according to multiple sources, deliberately maintained. A decade of mass civilian death, the complete militarization of Algerian political life, and a conflict that was, in significant part, a government using manufactured extremism as justification to eliminate any political opposition, including moderate Islamist parties that had won democratic elections. 6 cases, 6 countries, 6 different eras, and the same architecture underneath all of them. Control the incident, control the story, control the response. The governments involved did not all succeed. Some were exposed within years. Some within decades. Some are still disputed. But in every case, the deception bought time, enough time to start a war, entrench a leader, or eliminate a political threat. The question this leaves isn't a comfortable one. It's not, could this happen? It already has, repeatedly, with documentation, with confessions, with declassified files. The real question is simpler and harder. When the justification for war comes, how do you know? History suggests you often don't, until it's too late to matter.